Oh, we are live. Sorry. Hi, everybody. We're live. I'm going to play my short video here in just a minute. I've got to take down this banner. So we're getting ready to start. Let me go to my short little video. We are live. One day at a time, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Onward Podcast. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Harmon, host of the Onward Podcast. So happy to see you here in my little video that I play at the beginning. You see my dog Pearl, and she's always with me. She may not always be on the screen, but she's always in the same room that I'm in, helping me. She's like my co-producer. So I'm excited today to bring you Tim Sowen. Tim is my guest tonight, and I think many of you know him. Hopefully his followers are going to watch this and my followers are going to watch this. And if you can't watch it live, catch the replay. And then it's also going to be published as a regular Onward Podcast episode in a few months from now. So it's a little intimidating to have Tim on the show because what he does for a living is he coaches people on how to produce live shows. And so I'm producing a live show, and I've got the expert is somebody I'm interviewing. So let's hope I do it right. Let's bring Tim in. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Emily. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I'm really thankful that you want to talk about this topic about cancer. You know, pretty much everybody in the world knows somebody who has had cancer or has cancer, works with them, somebody in their family. And I think, you know, we all know people who've suffered from it. And so I think that sometimes people have questions that they may be afraid to ask. And I know that you're really willing to share and vulnerable. I mean, you've even put in your LinkedIn profile that you're a leukemia survivor. So
yeah.
I know that we think, I'm going to let people know that are watching, they can ask you some questions. So
I'm an open book. And people have actually reached out to me because I put leukemia survivor in my LinkedIn title.
Yeah. And we're praying for Sage. I know Sage couldn't be here tonight. She even has the fact that she has cancer in her profile, and she's a single parent of 5 children. So she said she's going to watch later. So thanks, Cherie, for sharing
Sending
that.
lots of love. Yes.
I'm frozen. I hope I'm not frozen now. Let me know if I'm still frozen, Jenny. I hope I'm not, because I look like I'm moving when I talk to myself.
You look good from here.
Kenneth says, savor the flavor. That's his main comment of the awesomeness in you for sharing your delectable thoughts with us today and every day. Yes. Thanks, yes. Kenneth. I want to meet you. I have not met Kenneth yet on a Zoom call. I need to do that.
Me either. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't? We need to do that. And hi, Russ. So thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it. And Tim, tell us your story. I've read your blog, and we'll put a link to your blog in the show notes as well as in the comments here. You wrote a blog about it, about when you first were diagnosed with cancer almost 15 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2008, I think I was 26 years old. I noticed I had some purple like blotches on my legs. Never had anything like that before. So I went to my primary care doctor, and they did some blood work, and I was leaving the parking lot, and they call me on my cell phone, and they say, you need to go to the hospital now. And they didn't really say too much. Maybe they said something about there's a possibility it's leukemia, something like that. I don't really remember too well that conversation, probably because I was so shocked by having to go to the hospital, right away. So I drove 2 hours to Westchester Medical Center in Westchester County in New York State. And I ended up staying there for about a week, and they diagnosed me with chronic myeloid leukemia. I didn't know really anything about leukemia. I knew there was one kid that was in my class, I think, when I was younger, and he passed away from leukemia, but that's really all I knew about leukemia. I had no idea at that point.
That's scary to be the only
what
thing
to
that you knew
expect.
about it. And plus, I think you said you wrote in your blog that you were driving away and you got a call. Like you hadn't even left the parking lot, right?
Yeah, I was literally about to leave the parking lot to go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were the thoughts running through your head?
I really had no idea what to expect. Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know, like, would it shorten my life at all? Like, how will I have to get chemotherapy? Would it affect I had just started dating Joy, my now wife, and I actually didn't tell her about it right away. She found out because there was an appointment slip on my refrigerator.
Oh my gosh.
And she very gently asked me about it, and that's how she found out about it. But we're
Wow.
married now, and it's all good.
Yeah. And you got two kids,
I
7
have
and
2
10.
kids.
Those are perfect
Yeah,
ages. Those are perfect ages. Enjoy them. I know you're enjoying them. So
yeah.
why did you decide to come out on LinkedIn? I mean, LinkedIn is supposed to be like this professional network, and we don't talk about that kind of stuff on LinkedIn. That's like I don't know what kind of a post. You talked about
Yeah.
it. What's
Yeah. It was a combination of things. I had seen a video by Steve Sullivan on LinkedIn. He's a 35-year survivor of acute leukemia, and he had put out a video on National Cancer Survivor Day, about about his journey. And in the meantime, Jenny Gold had invited me on her show. In her show, she usually interviews people about immune people that have immune, issues, autoimmune issues, and in the meantime, I had started posting radiating real content, which is the movement was created by Nancy Barrows, and the idea is to show up as yourself in the moment. You don't have to be all polished and shiny, but you just show up. The original idea was to take a picture of yourself in the morning when you
mhm.
wake up before you're all showered and, you know.
Yeah, that's brave. I never did that.
Yeah. Um, so I started out with that, but then I really discovered that radiating real was really about so much more. It was about just showing up in the moment and kind of sharing your personal story. And I found that connected me, and that kind of content resonated so much more, especially on LinkedIn, than any post I would do, like 5 ways to get past the fear of live video, right? Like blah blah blah. Everybody writes that, right? Um, so that's how so it was really the combination of radiating real, Steve Sullivan with his video, and then Jenny Gold inviting me on her show. Nancy Lewis Hill was originally going to be on her show, but she had to back out. So everything just kind of aligned, and I had never told my story like that before anywhere. A little bit, very little bit on social media, but I just felt like things were coming together, that all these things were aligning, and maybe it was just time to do it. And I'm so glad I did, um, because I've heard from so many different people, from people that have family members, who have leukemia, or this guy reached out to me who's a survivor himself. He was just diagnosed in May. He was like, "Hey, could we get on a call?" And I don't know what to expect, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, yeah, so it's been really amazing, just like connecting with other survivors, and um, yeah, I don't even know what the word is. It's been
Well,
such a I don't even know what the word is.
yeah, and you've been on several different shows talking about it, and so you're spreading the world all. I mean, the word all over the world, and giving other people permission to tell their story as well. Um, and and
Yeah.
when I initially started the Onward movement, which is a movement that I lead about creating a life that you love living. Initially, it was about authenticity, being authentic, kind of like the radiating real thing. And then
Yeah.
it kind of, I think it's evolved as I've evolved. And initially, this podcast, the Onward podcast, and I don't know where my brand thing is. It's usually up there, but I don't see it now. I've done something.
It's all good.
I know how to do it. But it was about like facing adversity and moving forward. And then I changed the theme of this show just a tiny bit because of my journey, which is facing adversity, moving forward, and discovering ourselves along the way.
Yes.
Because that's when we face adversity, I think that helps us really discover ourselves. And then the onward movement is about embracing authenticity, releasing the fear of judgment, so that you can create the life of your dreams with confidence. And that's kind of, I think we tend to coach in areas where we've struggled. And that's kind of like been my struggle, is like everyone told me when I retired or graduated, you should go be a government contracting consultant. I didn't want to do that. So I encourage people, just like Russ does, and like you and Radiating Real and Nancy, be ourselves, figure out who we really are, and live a life that you really love. And I know one of the things that you love doing is walking out in nature, because I've
I
been
do.
on the
Can you
phone with
tell?
you.
It's
Yeah.
surrounding me.
You live near the Delaware River, so you get
I
outside a lot.
do. Yeah. And especially during the pandemic, I mean, before I used to walk a lot as well, but especially during the pandemic, like in the early days, I used to walk like every single morning before the girls and Joy even got up. I would go for a walk every morning
Yeah.
by the river. It's
Yeah.
changed a little bit now because things are a little different, but
So
yeah, I
you've,
love nature.
oh yeah. And it's just got a healing way about it. So for 15 years, you've lived with the leukemia, right? Have you always had it, or that you were in remission, but is it you're in remission, but you still kind of have it? I mean, how does that work? I know my
Yeah.
mom's in remission from one of her cancers, but it's still there lurking. So it's got to always be on
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah. So in 2000, so basically there's there's a test that they do that's called a gene test, and they measure the percentage of leukemia cells in your body versus whatever else there is. I don't know what it's called. Non-leukemia cells.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so it was down to 0 in 2019. Now, the last few times I've gone, it's been slowly creeping back up. So there's a chance that when I go the next time, if the numbers are up again, I may have to switch I take an oral chemo medication daily. So I may need to switch that, because sometimes after so many years, one of the medications will, their effectiveness won't be as much, because your body gets so used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said in your blog that your medication would be, if you didn't have insurance, 10,000 a month.
Yeah, it's super crazy. And luckily there's organizations like the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, or even some of the pharmaceutical companies have, aid that you can apply for.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you don't have insurance, it can be really challenging, for sure.
Yeah. So what have you discovered about yourself along this journey?
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
The journey of living with leukemia, or sharing my story, or all of it?
Any of it, whatever you want to share. What kinds of things have you discovered about yourself?
I really like connecting with other people that are also survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Just sharing each other's stories, learning about each other, on the personal level, on the professional level, what is, just learning about each other. And I probably live life a little bit more, like I value my time more, I guess I would say,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know, like when you're diagnosed with something like leukemia, you have like a new awareness of like your time and what you're doing, and how you want to spend it, I think. So I would say that as well, but really connecting with other survivors has been really, really enlightening for me.
I bet, because I mean, I know my mom has had lymphoma, but I haven't had it. I know my former husband, my kid's dad, passed away from cancer, but I didn't have it. So I know from like a
Mm,
caregiver's or a loved one's perspective, but I've never had it, so I don't know
right.
the feelings that you have. So I can see how that would be.
Yeah.
It's understandable that that would be really comforting to talk to other people who have been through it and then helping other people. Because I know when you help others, I'm thinking you're helping yourself too.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I had never really in the past before sharing my story, I had never like intentionally tried to reach out to other survivors or share my story. And it's been almost 15 years, you know. So I think I kind of felt that because like the medication I take works well. I don't have side effects from it. I've always been kind of hesitant about sharing my story or even reaching out to others. I guess I kind of also feel or felt like kind of guilty because what if other people that I talk to, what if their health isn't going as well? You
As
know,
you might think it is or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always been kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of awkward, you know, felt kind of awkward.
hmm
Um, but I'm so glad that I have shared it now.
Yeah. And Jenny's here. She says hi.
Jenny,
Hi, Jenny.
Jenny's show is the first show that I shared my story on. So thanks
That's
for giving me
awesome.
that space, Jenny. Yeah.
Yeah. And Donjette, thank you for attending. Donjette's going to be on the show
Hi.
soon.
Oh,
And
awesome.
looks like Sage is here too. So
Oh, hi, Sage.
yeah, we weren't sure if you were going to be here. So I hope I'm not frozen again, Cherie. Um, hopefully I'm not frozen. But so how do you talk to your children about it?
I haven't yet.
Haven't yet. Yeah. That's
Um, I say haven't because it hasn't affected me much. Um, you know, like they would never know unless I told them. And you know, I've kind of gone back and forth in my head, but I mean, our kids are 10 and 7, and
yeah,
I don't want to put stress on them that you know maybe something would happen to me. You know, like if I don't need to, I you know, it's a hard decision.
yeah, that is a hard decision, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
They're going to worry when they may not need to worry. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who has a loved one or a friend that they know has cancer? Sometimes people don't know what to say, so they don't say anything, or they're, not sure if they should offer help or whatever. I mean, do you have any advice for somebody?
Don't not call them. Call them and I don't want to say pretend like they don't have cancer, but you know, like there's still another human being. They're still on this planet. Um, you know, so I mean, I know it could definitely be kind of awkward. Um, but just try to have a conversation. I mean, maybe start off with something you know, lighter or something like that. But don't not call because you're I mean, if you love the person, right? If you know, you're concerned about them, you know, definitely let them know in some way that you're thinking about them, that you're praying for them. Don't just disappear because you don't know what to say, you know, like
Right.
that's probably could be one of like the most awkward situations for someone who has cancer is like if people stop reaching out to you or if um yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And sometimes maybe you could even ask the person, right? I mean, like everyone reacts differently. I remember my former husband, he wouldn't meet with anybody from work. He didn't really take many calls, but he was
Yeah.
really, really sick. So
Mm.
maybe that's it. So you just, I mean, to be able to, then somebody posted here, Facebook user, I appreciate your honesty. So to be able to have just an honest conversation with the person and ask, how can I best support you? Right.
I love
And
that for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe to make the, don't make the conversation all about cancer. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about what you do for a living, as you're critiquing how I'm running my live show in your
You're
mind.
doing great. You're doing great.
So yeah, you're the producer of live shows. You have a couple of live shows. So we did some banners on that. So you have
Yeah.
the Tim and Jim show, which is Wednesdays at 11 in the morning Eastern. And you broadcast it on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
where else?
Yeah, we broadcast on LinkedIn. We also broadcast on there's a Tim and Jim Show YouTube channel, as well as a Tim and Jim Show Facebook page, among other places. But we bring on guests to talk about all things to grow your small business. So it could be something marketing related, entrepreneurship, health, mindset, um, really anything, to help small businesses grow. And we just
Pretty
celebrated 3 years
challenging.
doing that in August. Yeah.
That's good. It's pretty challenging starting a small business.
Oh, for sure. We all know
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, we all know that, and you can feel alone, and so it's really important to, have a show like that, or to have masterminds where, everybody who's starting their own business doesn't feel alone. That's, just like talking about the cancer, talking about all these real life issues. Everyone, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I should share that, but then you realize other people are going through that too and feeling the same thing.
Yeah, I think it depends on, like, on your comfort level. Like, it took me almost 15 years to share my story, right?
Hmm.
Um, and because you don't know, like, some of the concerns I had were like, would people look at me differently? Would they talk to me differently? If I was going for a job, would my chances of a job be less because they knew I had cancer? Or if I was starting my own business, like, are clients gonna, if somehow they knew, um,
Hmm.
would my chances of getting a client be less?
Hmm.
Um, but I've found through sharing my story that it's only connected me with more heart-centered, amazing people, whether they're affected by cancer or their family member is or not. And I would say for people who are survivors or family members, if you're comfortable sharing the story, it's going to connect you with other people that could be a support for you. They might become friends, um, or you might collaborate in some way.
Yeah.
So, if you're comfortable with it, um, do it. Like, you don't want to worry about people that, like, if there are people that would look at you differently or talk differently or wouldn't hire you, maybe those, you don't want those people to hire you anyway, right?
Right. Right.
So it's taken a while to get to that mindset, but um that's been my experience.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure we all have, I know I do, have some things that if I shared would make me feel really vulnerable and that I haven't shared yet. Getting closer, but
Yeah.
definitely it does take time to be able to
Yeah.
do that. So I like that idea of the Tim and Jim show being about helping small business owners from, mindset to start, because it's very challenging. In my last role, I was the head of small business for the Navy and the Marine Corps, and
Oh,
I was,
wow.
but I had worked for the government, so I was the director of small business for the Navy and Marine Corps. So all these small business owners were coming and talking to me about, how do you do business with the Navy and the Marine Corps, and
Wow.
it's, but that I saw it from the government perspective, and now I'm starting my own small business, and I even appreciate those small businesses even more that we're doing business because it's very
For sure.
challenging. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's one of your shows, and then you have one
Yeah.
that's after this show every night. Thank you for not conflicting with mine. It's
Yes, I
called,
totally planned it that
yeah,
way.
I'm sure you did. It's called What's Good Wednesday. So it's Wednesdays 9 to 11 Eastern, and that's you and Brian Schulman and then Nancy Barrows. And what do you guys talk about on What's Good Wednesdays?
Yeah, so we invite people to come live on the show for a few minutes, They share what's good in their world, what's good in the world, and we dance together on screen. You can pick your jam of choice. And so it's just to put the focus on the good, positivity, and dance together, have some fun, and that's it.
You do that on LinkedIn?
Yes. Saturday is even crazier.
Saturday's
And that's
crazy.
4 hours.
No, I've joined you guys Saturday from like I was hiking in the mountains.
Yes, I remember.
And then I joined you guys. I've joined you from the shores of the Chesapeake Bay. I don't know how you guys spend your Saturdays doing that, but you enjoy it. And then you have these.
It's so
What are you
fun.
using? You have these. Can you do one now? You
Yeah,
probably can.
absolutely.
I'm not going to be able to do it, but
I could
yeah,
become a cartoon, or do you like a banana?
yeah, he does.
I'm feeling kind of corny tonight. Um,
It's so fun. So
yeah,
you guys should tune into those shows. And let's see, you also should connect with Tim on LinkedIn because,
I would love
tell
that.
us about the kinds of things that you do. You help people produce live shows and what else?
Yeah, I help people produce live shows. So if they just want to show up and have a great conversation with a guest, you could have somebody else behind the scenes, bringing on the banners like this down here, the logo, if there were any like recorded videos or things like that, just to make the show more engaging. And then also virtual events I produce. I'm going to be producing one next month for the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. It's an awards dinner that they used to do in person. Did it last year for them also virtually. So then that, and then I also coach people on how to create their own live shows or virtual events. If they want to do it themselves, but they just need some guidance,
Yeah.
that as well. So everything live streaming, whether you need some guidance or hands-on help.
And were you doing this before the pandemic, or is it something that you started when the pandemic happened?
Yeah, so this is started because of the pandemic. We were already doing the Tim and Jim show for 2 years when the pandemic hit. But then I really switched my business. I had started a group coaching program on how to create your own LinkedIn, or not LinkedIn, but live show on whatever platform, in April of 2020. And I did that course, I think, for 5 rounds throughout the pandemic. But before that, I was mainly working with small businesses here in Northeast Pennsylvania, with their like creating social media content for them, going on site and live streaming for local businesses or for local events. There's a Readers and Writers Festival that happens every year, that I worked with, and some other local events with an organization, kind of like a Chamber of Commerce kind of thing. So really
Mm-hmm.
all the things that were majorly impacted by COVID, that's who I was working with.
Oh, that's so challenging. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, so Sheree says, children detect what's going on. I was 11 years old when my mother got cancer, and they told me she had a year to live, but she lived longer, and I was glad they did because I had a grown-up conversation with her and asked her about our family history. That's interesting. I don't know if you guys have connected, but it
I
have you
think we
talked
are.
on
Yeah,
Zoom? Yeah. It might be a good conversation to have because
for
somebody who's
sure.
been through it as a child. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
for sharing.
sharing. Yes.
For
And
sure.
Carl Sean's here, two very awesome and amazing, inspiring
Hey,
people. Hi, Carl Sean. Thanks for joining us.
you're
Thanks
amazing as
for joining.
well.
Yes, he is. He talks all about vulnerability.
He does.
And I had him on
I
this
love it.
show. And yeah, he's sharing all about that, which is another thing. There's so many things now that are shared on LinkedIn that weren't before the pandemic. And I guess it's the pandemic that changed it. I don't know if it's a combination of a bunch of things coming together. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot more time. I've spent a lot more time on LinkedIn since the pandemic.
Mhm.
And working on Brian's show it's like totally the opposite of what you would expect to see on LinkedIn, right? It's like
No,
wacky,
yeah, I
crazy
know.
people dancing on LinkedIn, right? But putting the focus on positivity and encouraging people and things like that.
Yeah.
But before that, I mean, my experience mostly with LinkedIn was, professional social media platform, like so many people say it is. But I think more and more people now they're becoming more vulnerable on the platform. They're having more fun on the platform. But still, many people as well are using it in a more professional way,
Yeah.
in those more traditional ways.
Right. I mean, you can kind of have a mixture. It's like
Yeah.
it's even harder now to separate work and life, right? So
Yeah.
Sheree says you're connected through Russ Hedge. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because of the show the other day, probably.
Hi,
That's right.
DJ.
Hey,
Thank you for
DJ.
joining us. I think she and I have a call coming up too.
That's
Um,
awesome. She was in some of my live streaming courses.
oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what can you share, like one or two tips if someone wants to live stream? Like, if someone's sitting here thinking this is really intimidating, to go live and have a conversation with somebody else, and I didn't go over all the questions I was going to ask Tim, so this is just kind of a conversation, and then all these people can watch. That might be intimidating for some people. What advice do
Yeah,
you?
for sure. It was intimidating for me at the beginning as well when I started live streaming. I would say if you can, if you have people that can show up for your live show, right? Even at the beginning, if it's friends or family, right? Send them the link to the show ahead of time and have them show up. I know for me, I always feel better when there are people in the comments and I can
Yeah,
shout them out and I just feel more comfortable. Oh,
right.
DJ. Yes, Tim is such a oh, thank you, DJ. That's so nice
Tim
of
is
you.
such a leader and a mentor. Yes,
Ah.
yes.
And then the other thing is, I mean, you can practice ahead of time. If you wanted to stream, if you use Facebook, you could stream. There's a setting for just me if you want to practice and then look back at it. Um, or you could, if you have a Facebook group, set up a private Facebook group and do it that way if you want to practice
Mhm.
ahead of time. But when you go live the first time, I mean, even if you say, hey, I'm really nervous, I'm going live for the first time, bear with me, like that's okay. Like
Yeah,
your first video is not going to be your best video for
people can
sure.
relate.
So just be you and it'll get easier each time. But I think if you encourage your community to show up, I know for me and for other people I've worked with, it makes it that much easier because they're there supporting you, but then you can also shout them out and it gives you also something to talk about during your show.
Yeah, it's it can be more intimidating to be talking and not having people show up. It's really important
Yeah.
when people show up. So I thank every single one of you that have shown up, that are watching, that are listening,
Thank you.
because it makes us feel like, well, maybe this is a show that people want to watch, and that I'm saying something important, and because I mean, it's a little nerve wracking for me too, to do this. I used to do my podcast interviews over Zoom, and then I would just
Mhm.
publish it later. Now
Right.
I do it live and then still publish it
Yay.
later. But I think the live is just so much more fun. The
Oh, for
engagement,
sure. The
other people can
interaction.
ask questions, the interaction, and I know on the Tim and Jim, or the What's Real Wednesdays, is that
What's
what
Good
it's called?
Wednesday?
Yeah, What's Good Wednesday. Oh my gosh, you guys usually have like 2,000 comments or something like that.
We do have a lot of comments and yeah, but I think it helps because we do What's Good Wednesday, but we also do Shout Out Saturday. So,
Yeah,
and we've been doing it like throughout the entire pandemic. Um, and I think Brian was doing it a little bit even before. So the consistency that's another thing I would say is having a consistent schedule for your show is really important also.
yeah, every night, like I'm every Wednesday, 7:30, except for I'm going to take a couple days off over the holidays, a couple weeks. I think
Good.
that's okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many friends are streamers and we're all so busy. So much support to all of you. Yeah, that is a challenge too. There's so many different live streams, but even just stopping by, if you don't stay the whole time, stopping by and saying hi, that's awesome too. Um,
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
even if you just stay a few minutes, and then that's also another good way to grow your network as well. If you're watching somebody else's live stream and you notice they're not a first connection on LinkedIn, send them a message, say, hey, I'm also watching Emily's amazing show. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, that's awesome. So, oh, she says never stop.
Always be live streaming.
Yeah. Well, I remember I was intimidated the very first time I did it. And then a couple of times I've just been like, I'm going to go live because by myself, because I want to share something. And then once I went live and I can't remember exactly what it was I was sharing, but I started to cry. So,
uh,
it's okay. I mean, we all
yeah,
cry, right? It's nothing to be ashamed of.
for sure.
Yeah, DJ says I don't like to leave when I arrive. Yeah, but it's showing the human side of us. We're all humans. We all have feelings. We're not just I'm a live stream producer, and here's my 5 tips. I mean, it's more than
Yeah.
that. And that makes people
Yeah,
want to connect with you, Tim, and that makes them want to attend. You have a class coming up, right?
I
You and
do.
Nancy are doing why personal content is your most powerful tool. It's a complimentary workshop on October 21st.
Yeah. It's October 21st. It's at 8:30 Eastern time, 5:30 Pacific time. Yeah, we're gonna share our personal stories. We're gonna talk about, how we go about sharing our personal stories and how you can do that as well, to whether it's to increase your engagement on your live shows or social media content, to grow your business, to grow your network, to reach your personal goals, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll share some tips, and we have a great community of people signed up already, but we would love for you to sign up as well. And it is free, and it's going to be a great group of people. You can connect with those people as well, through the workshop.
Yeah, because you also do that show with about small businesses and what small business owners need to know. I mean, people do business with people. They don't
Exactly.
do business with a company, and the same applies to the federal government. People would call and say, I want to do business with the government. Who's the government? There's so many
Right.
there's so many government agencies. What do you mean when you say you want to do business with the government? What do you mean when you say I coach? Like, who do you coach? Who's your ideal client? There's so many things that you need to know, and people connect with people that they know, like, and trust. So how do they get to know, like, and trust you? Um, it's it's a little easier to know, like, and trust someone who is confident enough and vulnerable enough to share his cancer story on all these live shows and to post in his LinkedIn profile about being a cancer survivor. Not a lot of people do that.
No,
So,
it's true. And it's interesting because since I've shared my leukemia story, um, somebody I was talking to, who's another live streamer. He said, I was talking to somebody and they said that you should be creating more content that's business related or that sells your services, because most of my content now is
yeah,
not business related. It is
no.
mostly about leukemia or headaches
Or
or,
headaches. You post all the time about your headaches, but people
right.
can relate.
Exactly. That has really, and I used to post these pictures when it was really bad. I'd be on the couch at like midnight and I'd post this picture that was like really dark and you could just see like part of my face. And those posts resonated so much with people because you don't see that on LinkedIn normally, right? You
No.
don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but since doing that, and even though I haven't been posting a lot of business related stories, I've gotten on so many calls with people. I've started working with new clients. Um, and it's just been therapeutic for me to share, like, to actually write this down. I used to be a journalist and I used to love writing, but I got away from that when I started doing video. But doing all this radiating real has really, I've like refound my love of writing as well, which has been
That's awesome.
really, yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Well, I post some personal things, not a lot, and I think to myself, why is that? And when I retire, my whole life I've been busy, 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 and that was my
Yeah.
way of avoiding my feelings. I have a hyperachiever saboteur up here, and it tells
Okay.
me you achieve that, you're going to be really happy. Then I
Yeah.
achieve it. Well, now you got to go for that. And so I've been in the past 2 years really working on myself, doing inner work. And one of the reasons that I retired or graduated is because I knew I wanted to feel my feelings again. I could tell you I'm happy or sad, but someone asks, well, where do you feel in your body? I don't know. But it's so important to know that stuff. And the only way to learn it is to spend time with yourself and not
Yeah.
be busy, busy, busy. And so as I'm doing more of that, I'm starting to find my voice to be able to share stuff. So,
Yes.
and like you and Nancy give me courage and other people courage too. Jenny says, I love this show. I can't wait to have you on my show. I look forward to hopefully meeting you in person, Jenny, because
Ooh.
I am going to go visit my daughter in December, I think, before Christmas in Colorado, in Denver. And that's where Jenny lives.
Yay.
Can't wait to see my daughter. I haven't seen her since Christmas. So I don't want to
Mm,
cry, but yeah. So
yeah.
I can't wait to see her. And Jenny says she's known as the crier. Okay, great, Jenny. I'll get on your show, and we'll just cry. How about that?
She brings bacon. If she has a guest and somebody's going to cry, she breaks out the bacon and she said, do you want some bacon?
That gets you to be like,
Right,
what?
Jenny?
I'm so happy you opened up, Tim. Thanks for sharing with us. Always here to support.
Thank you, TJ. You're always so supportive. I appreciate you so much.
So we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about like the cost of the medication, how you find out you had cancer, whether or not when you would tell your children, how to approach somebody that has cancer and how to best support them. And all the things that you do and all your live shows. What haven't I asked that I should ask?
Oh goodness, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, one thing I would say is that I'm so grateful for all the people. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for all the people that I've met through LinkedIn, especially. And just all the people that have been so supportive when I'm doing all these posts that I didn't create content like that before. Like I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if I was going to do one of them, or I just wrote my 61st radiating real post the other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes when you're sharing something really personal to hit that send button. And then if no one comments, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have hit post, but.
Right. But you learn along the way, like what people resonate with. And there might be things that you share that people aren't comfortable reacting to also, especially on LinkedIn.
Right.
Because so many people view it as that professional platform.
Yeah. Yeah. A question popped in my head that I was going to ask and then I forgot. Oh, so, I'm also on my banner here. It says, create a life that you love. What are the things that you're doing in your life to create a life that you love living?
Oh, goodness. I love what we were saying before. I love nature. I love being out in nature. I love walking along the river. I love spending time with our family, our kids. It's been challenging with the pandemic, and there still isn't a vaccine yet for their age. Hopefully there will be soon. So I'm looking forward to when we can do more, do more things. Family, nature, coffee. I mean, always be drinking coffee. That's always important.
It's almost, how are you going to go to sleep tonight?
There's water in this cup.
Okay, I was going to say, oh, wow.
Maybe I wasn't exactly radiating real there.
That's funny. Yeah.
So Jenny has a question. Sorry.
Okay, Jenny has a question. What'd she say? Oh, you like Dunkin' Donuts? Why?
I think it's because after college, I moved around a lot. I worked at different newspapers in New Mexico and New Hampshire and Connecticut and New Jersey. And wherever I went, there was a Dunkin' Donuts. So I would go and I would get coffee and other things, which are not the healthiest thing. But I found that when you go, whether it's Dunkin' Donuts or another coffee shop, if you go there every day, you see familiar faces, right? And you start talking to them. And before COVID, I used to actually go to Dunkin' Donuts. I'd bring my laptop and I would do my work and sit there for a few hours. And people would walk in, especially people that there's a brain injury, like people who have brain injuries. There's a home nearby to Dunkin', so they would come in and they would talk with me, and um, I don't know. I just found that there was like a sense of community. I really love community, whether it's online or in person. I used to do workshops before COVID in person here in Northeast Pennsylvania. I really miss that, the in-person interaction. And I think mostly I just miss the community aspect,
Yeah.
with Dunkin' Donuts. And wherever I moved to, there seemed to be a Dunkin' Donuts nearby. So it was just familiar.
Oh, and Jenny says I was going to ask him why he likes to go on walks in nature.
I think it's because it's just so peaceful and quiet. And when you have 10 and 7-year-old kids and you're around them, which I love them to death, they are not quiet ever, mostly. And with the pandemic, like, it just like there was just so much stress during the pandemic, not knowing what was going to be going on day to day or minute to minute or second to second, or it was a consistent thing I did every morning. I went for a walk by the river every morning. And it was just like that quiet time to start out the day, just put me in the right mindset, especially not knowing what would be coming.
Yeah. And it seems like, the cancer diagnosis is really hard to take. I know that. But you also found gratitude, and you found the gift. You've talked tonight about the gift and the opportunities that have come from your diagnosis, right? I mean, the meeting of the people, being able to help other people. So you've got such a great attitude about it, a good mental attitude about it, it seems like.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. When I create the Radiating Real posts, one of the things that really resonates with people is when I say I go through all these crappy things, right? And then I say, but I'm grateful for this and for this and for this and for this. And people are like, you have such a great mindset. Like, you're going through all this stuff, but you can still find the gratitude,
Yeah. How do you do that? Have you always been that way, or do you have to work at it? Or, how do you do that?
I haven't been that way. I think Nancy Barrows, she has that mindset, and I spent a lot of time with her with the shows and everything. And I think that kind of rubbed off on me just through conversations we've had and watching shows that she's been on. And because she always shares how she's so grateful for everything that's happened along her journey, and the good and the bad. So I think mostly just through conversations with her, I've really learned to appreciate things even when they're not so great.
Yeah. That's something that you can teach your kids too, because our kids learn by observing us.
Oh, that's definitely true.
Yeah. It is a good way to meditate. Yeah. Do you listen to music, or are you just alone in your thoughts, or what do you do when you walk?
No, I don't usually listen. Well, sometimes, not usually. Usually just quiet.
Just quiet.
Or when it was the beginning of the pandemic, Nancy Lewis Hill has a show that she does in the morning she has a Facebook group called Lighten Up with Miss Nancy. And she went live every morning at like 7:30 in the morning, I think it was. She still does it.
Wow.
Sometimes I would watch that show as I'm walking.
Okay.
Because that just brought people together. She started it after the pandemic started, and it was just like the idea of like stopping by, show up, support each other, share what's going on, still with the focus on, the good and positivity.
Yeah.
But just a place that we could all come together while we're all going through so much to show up, support each other, lift each other up, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tim, for being on the Onward podcast. I really appreciate this interview. And I know you talked about Nancy a lot. Nancy is we're doing a little special interview on October 18th, a Monday night coming up.
Oh, yay.
Nancy's going to be on
great.
On the Onward podcast. So yeah, normally I'm just on Wednesday nights, but she's going to be on a Monday night, and we wanted to fit her in. So
awesome.
All right. And as we're leaving, please check out this upcoming workshop, complimentary free workshop on why personal content is your most powerful tool. And are you going to be offering it again? Because this podcast is going to be published as a regular podcast like after October 21st, but there might be other times. People should just connect with you on LinkedIn and follow you. And
that's the best way. I'm sure we'll offer it again at some point, but we just have the one scheduled for right now.
Yeah. And then the Tim and Jim show, which is on Wednesdays at 11 Eastern. And then we're going to wrap this up, and Tim's going to go get ready for another show.
Yes.
9:00 tonight, 9 to 11. And the reason you guys moved the show to later at night is to support Nancy because she's on the West Coast. And so you guys have become good friends.
Yeah, and she works during the day for a school district, and it's hard for her we used to do the show at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But that wasn't feasible for her anymore. So we moved it so she could be there.
Jenny says, because she lives in Denver, she got up at 5:30 for Nancy Lewis Hill's podcast.
I didn't realize. Wow. I didn't realize it was that early for her. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because then it would be even 4:30 for people out in California. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you to everybody who watched this show. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you for stopping by, and make sure you go watch the Wednesday night show later tonight at 9:00. Yeah.
Yes. Come.
All right.
More fun.
More fun. Okay. I've got a short video and a few words that I'll say at the end, and then a short video, and we'll wrap it up, and I'll see you in a few minutes, Tim.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody who comes on the show and people who listen to the show, a podcast. So Cherie says, sounds like my day today, multitasking while celebrating my birthday, 62 years old. So you missed a few minutes answering calls. Happy birthday. I didn't know today was your birthday. That's awesome. You got to go on the show later tonight about What's Good Wednesday and say, well, what's good is today is my birthday. Yeah, everyone's saying happy birthday now. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys watching. I wanted to share just a banner. Let's see, this is my website right here, emilyharman.com. If you're interested in meeting with me, there's a link on the website to schedule a short call, or just connect with me on LinkedIn and schedule a call, and let's get to know each other. So I'm a personal life coach. I coach in the areas of discovering your dreams. You know, my LinkedIn profile says, what if retirement was really a graduation? And that's what I called my retirement. I was like, yes, I'm graduating into bigger and better things. What I didn't realize as I was graduating into self-discovery, I have learned so much about myself. I've really, in the past 2.5 years, worked a lot on done some inner work, and learned a lot more about myself, learned just so many things. And that's some of the things that I coach on. So anyway, you can go to my website and check it out, and schedule a call with me if you're interested. So, all right, I think that's it. And we're going to end it. Appreciate you guys watching. And let's see. Tim's probably critiquing me like, Emily, you got to just get to that video. All right, I am. Talk to you guys later. Bye. The Onward podcast is sponsored by Emily Harman Coaching and Consulting. Visit my website, emilyharman.com, to learn more about my coaching programs and how you can work with me. Let's move onward together.